Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.
Welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Seth Greene. Today, I have the good fortune to be interviewing attorney Jonathan Stemerman of Armstrong Teasdale. Jonathan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Let's go back in time a little bit. What inspired you to go to law school in the first place?
So I've always wanted to help people. I was not the greatest at math and science, so being a doctor was kind of out of the question. And so being a lawyer sounded like something that was right up my alley. I really do enjoy the complex nature of the business and, again, helping people with their problems.
Awesome. And then how did you arrive on the area of specialization you are in right now?
So I got to be honest, going into business law, corporate commercial litigation, which is what I specialize in, was not at the top of my mind when I was entering law school. However, I took a couple classes on corporate law, and it seemed really interesting. And I then applied for a clerkship with the Delaware Supreme Court, which I was lucky enough to get with Justice Randy J. Holland, and that really solidified my my love for corporate and commercial law.
Who is an ideal client for you now?
So the ideal client for me is somebody that has a problem with their business, be it an issue with a partner in the business or shareholders, or an issue with another company or person related to the business that is seeking advice or has been sued and needs help to get out of whatever situation it is that they're in and get to a successful resolution of that problem.
What are some of the biggest mistakes those companies, those businesses are making that you're seeing happen? It just, makes you slap your head against the wall, bang your head and go, man, if only they knew.
Yeah. So the biggest mistake that I see all the time in my practice, and one of the key areas of my practice is something called business divorce, where you have the owners of the company no longer wanting to do business with each other and wanting to split apart, much like a marriage would split, which is why they call it a business divorce. And one of the biggest things that I see is that at the outset of the relationship, they didn't have the foresight to kind of envision an out for them when they reach a disagreement. The biggest cases I see like this are in 50-50 partnerships, LLCs, that type of thing. Companies where all of a sudden they reach a deadlock and they're kind of stuck, and they either didn't see the issue at the outset, didn't see that there was going to be some sort of disagreement, or they said, well, we just figured we would get to that later. And the thing that I always tell people is that when you're starting a business, that's kind of the honeymoon period, that kumbaya time, and if you can't reach a resolution on an issue right at the beginning, when that issue really becomes a dividing issue, you're not going to reach a resolution. Unfortunately, that's when I get called in to have to try to resolve that.
So we didn't have a business prenup. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's you didn't necessarily have a proper prenup. So with an LLC, you're going to have an operating agreement most of the time. With corporations, you're going to have your bylaws. And, LLCs are much more flexible than corporations are. Same thing with partnerships. You can put provisions in there for issues that you're going to have once, for resolutions of issues that you're going to have. The biggest one, like I said, is when somebody wants to exit the company. Oftentimes there's not a buy-sell provision in the agreement or something else that can kind of trigger an exit.
That makes a lot of sense. Without revealing any names, obviously your client identities are confidential. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen?
Well, the craziest thing I've ever seen, it actually wasn't a client of mine, but it was when I was clerking for the Delaware Supreme Court. And there was a merger of sorts, a JV between ExxonMobil and the Saudi Basic Oil Company, which was the national oil company of Saudi Arabia. And when they were putting the JV together, they did what most people do when they're negotiating terms. They came to a compromise. And one of the compromises they came to was that the agreement would be governed by Saudi law, but any dispute under that agreement would be heard in Delaware. So you have this American court, right, this Delaware court, deciding issues of Saudi law, which, as great as the Delaware courts are, they're not very well equipped to handle that. And so what do the companies do? Obviously, they hire experts. And as is often the case, you've got one expert saying, Saudi law says this, and then you've got another expert saying, no, it says the opposite. And then it's kind of left to the court to decide that. And so to me, and the issue was one where several $billion were at stake. So to me, that's probably the craziest thing that I saw. But from clients that I've had, the craziest thing that I've seen, honestly, is when people don't read what they've signed. It always gets me when somebody's pledging security for a loan or something like that, and they haven't read the agreement and they think it says something when in fact it says something completely different.
Absolutely. So what are some of the, you mentioned obviously the business divorces. What are some of the elements that need to go into, that business prenup to make it less painful on the way out?
Again, so the biggest thing is to have a provision in there for when somebody wants out, or, conversely, when you want to get somebody out. And, typically those are going to be something akin to a buy-sell provision that's going to compensate somebody for their share of the business. And there's all sorts of different ways you can do a buy-sell provision. I've seen it based in multiples of EBITDA. I've seen it based on appraisal by a neutral appraiser. And then I've seen all sorts of other various complex ways of figuring out how to get somebody what their pro rata share of the business is.
That makes a lot of sense. With all the success you've had over your career, what's your biggest challenge now?
So biggest challenge is actually, there's a couple big challenges. The first one is really just finding enough time in the day to get everything done that needs to get done, while also, trying to have a family life as well. That can get very difficult, especially in Delaware litigation, where a lot of it's expedited. The other biggest challenge that I have and that I see is kind of, it's not so much setting the expectations for the client, but getting the client to understand that there's only so much that you can do as an attorney. Oftentimes, as a business attorney, we're dealing with matters that are based on contracts. So we're kind of limited to what the contract allows us to do.
Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
So the thing I like best about it is the same reason why I got into it, which is helping people and helping people with complex problems. I really do enjoy the intellectual challenge of a lot of this. Generally, the reason why somebody comes to a lawyer is because there isn't a simple answer to the problem, and so being able to help somebody reach a resolution to a complex issue is something that gives me joy, and is the reason why I stay in this.
Awesome. How are those business owners finding you?
So, there's a couple different ways. One of the biggest ones is through word of mouth or referrals from other attorneys. The other way, is on the web, doing a search for business divorce attorneys, or kind of seeing my name in print or from cases that have been published. That's typically how the clients reach me.
That makes a lot of sense. And for your full disclaimer, we should have given at the beginning, we aren't giving any legal advice on this podcast. Make sure to seek appropriate counsel where you are licensed. Jonathan, for folks watching and listening who want to learn more, where is the best place for them to go to learn more about you?
Okay. So the best place to do that would probably be my Armstrong Teasdale bio. You can search for my name, Jonathan Stemerman. Last name is Stemerman. And you can go to armstrongteasdale.com. You can also, when you're Googling my name, my LinkedIn profile will pop up as well.
All right. Well, we will send everybody there. Jonathan, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We will talk to you or see you next time.
Do you need money to fund your idea, product, or service? Are you ready to take your business to the next level but need capital to get it done? Kevin Harrington has heard more than 50,000 pitches and knows how to help you make the perfect pitch to get the funding for your entrepreneurial dream. He's distilled the process down in his perfect pitch cheat sheet, and it's yours for free. Just text PITCH to him right now at 727-888-2100. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free perfect pitch cheat sheet. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 to start funding your dream today.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.